In this video, I will explain the system view of things and the core role that processes play within the systems approach. I'll use 2 or 3 simple examples. Let's start with the simplest example of all. How to keep a house comfortable inside. Comfortable home environment for a family living in a home in Canada. With outside variable, cold air changing, wind changing, humidity level, ice, sun rays coming in, day out, pressure, snow, and so on. This house and the processes within exist within this outside environment. Within the house, there are many variables, some controllable, some less controllable, that impact the comfort level. You take a shower, there's more water in the air. You cook, same thing. You sleep at night, nobody moves, things dry up a little bit. Hot air is produced by the furnace, of course, taking in energy as a source of energy, fossil fuel. Humidify air is also a process. Exchange air takes in good fresh air, cold air typically from outside, pushes out the bad air, hot, so you have to eat it again. Essentially, what do you control? What's the goal? Let's look at the overall process. 3 processes within an internal environment that exists within an external environment and from which you get feedback. Zoom in. Input, output. Input, output. And the 3 processes clearly interact to create comfort, which is a customer perception. A different customer will perceive it differently. This is a typical Canadian home where you got a furnace, you've got the fans that push air outside, pulls it inside, a humidifier that puts in the water. And what do you control? Well, for process control, you've got a number of inputs. You control the temperature, you control the humidity setting, the air exchanger, and you get some inputs of information. Temperature in, out, humidity level in, out, air pressure, and a trend. This is the last 12-hour trend that you get there, and maybe some forecast. Feedback allows you to detect a change in the process compared to a standard and correct and learned. Every time you do that, you learn as well. Feed forward is when you anticipate, forecast some changes, and knowing your system and how it will react, you change some values in advance. You feed forward the information. Inside, of course, those things are happening at the same time with more or less control. Less than more, actually. And as you take actions, and you clean your clothes, wash, dry, showers, start feeling bad, start taking corrective action. But then, in the next few seconds, nothing happens, of course. It takes a while. There's a lag. So if you don't wait long enough and you go again, I'm still uncomfortable, I change my setting again, then you are building, over-correcting, and you will get a burst at some point that will keep coming much longer than you would like. So building in the lag factor is extremely important in order not to overcorrect, leading to the proverbial boom and bust that we see in so many environments. This is the process control, feedback and control loop. Here that you do not see is a learning loop. Every time you go here, you make some changes, notice some effect. Oh, this is what I gotta do when I see these values. It works. Or this is what I should not do because it doesn't work. The learning loop is right here. Assuming that you measure correctly and that the data is fed to you in time and that you understand the lead and lag of all those variables. You can make the same metaphor as you drive a car, of course. you control a number of variables. You get outside environment feedback, traffic. If you have a GPS, you have information. You may have a traffic jam anticipated as well. Feedback, feed forward. The complete loop and processes ID is there. Let's move to business now to see how these notions apply in a business environment. They apply exactly the same way. This is a pharmacy. Zoom in. You have a number of processes in the pharmacy. They create value for a customer, and they create value, personal value, for an employee. Pharmacist. Allow me to have a bit of a cup of tea here. I'll be a little more intelligent afterward. There you go. This pharmacy is centered on affluent elderlies. Old people, average age over 80, but people with good financial means. There is a value proposition that we're offering them, and I will not get into this in detail here. It is in the book. And the value proposition involves a number of features of the service offering. And these features are delivered by processes. As you design these processes, you also impact the employee that does the job. What he or she gets out of her job. Is she happy being there? Does she want to stay there? Does she want to learn in the job? At the moment of truth, this employee, this pharmacist, and this customer meet. And they either create value or they destroy value. And the positioning and branding of the pharmacy and so on. This is marketing, this is human resource management, this is operations management. All the processes we need to manage. Zoom into this, zoom into that, and I refer you to the appropriate chapter in the book. We will look, for example, at the process of filling prescription. Google Earth style. Let us zoom in now to ground level, Google Street View, into fill prescription. Those are 4 processes, and you recognize the same pattern as I had for the house example a few minutes ago. Fulfill prescription, prepare sterile products. Those are the one that goes into a syringe for injection. Prepare medication organizer, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Pick up prescription and deliver medications. Input, output. Internal pharmacy environment involve the computer system, the spatial constraint, very tight together, formal authority, informal authority, and so on. And of course, a pharmacy exists within a universe of health organizations of all type, of medical organization, of pharmaceutical companies, of news that come up about a medication that works or that is dangerous. This, of course, impacts the environment. The pharmacist's job is to get some feedback from these processes and to make correction when there's a problem. So let us zoom in into fulfill prescription. This is a process mapping. The players, we call these the swim lane. The players, how it goes, the customer waits, technician come and meet the entering client, pharmacist does his job, the doctor is beyond the organizational line, he's in another organization, and so on. Mapping techniques, time, weights, and so on. What do you measure here? Where does that data flow? Who uses it? Well, zoom out, feedback. Number of people in the waiting room. Number of basket waiting for the pharmacist to verify. Number of red basket, urgent, now, and so on. Those numbers are compared to the voice of the customer, standards. 0 defect with any defect having an impact on health. No more than 3 defects per 1,000 which have only financial impact, and so on. Those standards are technical translation of the customer need. You compare the values you're getting with the value you should have, and you take corrective action. Asking for another pharmacist to come in, asking for another technician, asking patient if we can deliver. If it's not urgent, we'll deliver, so we reduce the number of basket, and we have an impact on the process. And as this works or not, we learn. The learning loop is back here. Every time you go through, pharmacist takes a solution, it works. Okay, that works. This is the learning loop. The best learning organization do this the best way. And basically, the connection between processes, again, fill prescription here, is a hinge between strategy, positioning in the market, positioning in the labor market, positioning that you don't see here in the financial market. You got to create value for the financial market, for shareholders. Processes create these three sources, these three values for these three stakeholders. It's a hinge in the sense that you see it in the global context, think globally, but as you zoom in, you can now in detail act locally. The devil is in the detail. So this small verb, fill prescription, allows us to see the global picture and to zoom in through this lens and then use a battery of technique to analyze what goes on. This is the connection between strategy and process. Between strategy and process, between process and value creation. This is the connection with process improvement and process design methodologies at a high level. The simple idea, input, output, feedback, voice of customer, correction. And at every time you go through the loop, learning loop at the bottom. Fundamental notions that you now have to transpose to your own process. Thank you for your attention.